freedom is the ability to do what means most to you and like saying no to everything else.
If you find something that's valuable to you and that you love, I think that alone is the thing you should always remember.
But if you just keep showing up and you keep extending the runway and it's like you keep writing songs, then you're giving yourself opportunities for there to be some breakthrough moment.
Welcome to Showing Up with Andy Grammer, the corner of the internet where we show up for what matters. Today's guests are my now best friends, Shawn Johnson East and Andrew East. They are elite athletes, entrepreneurs, and parents of three. They are the co-authors of the new book, The Courage to Commit, The Radical Power of Sticking with Something. It's a wonderful, wide-ranging conversation about commitment, which I think in 2026 is very important. And they come at it from a lot of different angles. So I think you're gonna like it a lot. So get into it. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/showingup. OneSkin. Try OneSkin with 15% off using code SHOWINGUP at oneskin.co/showingup. All right. Welcome to Showing Up. Thank you both for being here. It is lovely to hang out with you. We have The Courage to Commit is their book. This is Shawn Johnson and Andrew East.
Thank you.
And we were just catching up about where we met each other.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my gosh,
It is
thank
an
you.
honor.
It's great.
We didn't actually connect and say hi, did we?
No.
At Derek's wedding?
No,
No.
I
Yeah.
just saw you and I was
Yeah.
like, I also saw you on Dancing from afar.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because you were on.
won.
I did.
You nailed
I
it.
did.
Yeah.
You were phenomenal.
I tried so hard at that. That was like, that goes down as the hardest thing I've ever done. By
It
far.
was incredible.
Yes, it
You
was
were
really-
on my teammates, Nastia Lucan season.
Oh yeah, Nastia.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah, we were with her this morning.
Oh my God, it's a perfect place to start with the idea of commitment. Because once
Yes.
I didn't even know, I'd never watched an episode of that show.
Oh, yeah.
And they asked if I wanted to do it. I had gone on because Derek had me come do something for one thing.
Yep.
But I wasn't like in the culture and didn't understand what it actually took. My mom just loved the show.
Yes, as
And my
does
mom
every
had
mom.
passed. So they asked if I would do it and I was like, I'm gonna do it in my mom's honor.
Oh.
And then once we actually got there, I was like, oh my God, this is absolute anarchy. This
Yeah.
is by far the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Whew.
It takes everything, and
It takes everything you have.
Yeah.
But, and then when it's done, I actually this is so stupid dad of me. Every like Tuesday, my daughter has dance and she like all the girls, and we trade off who takes them. And there's like 7 of them that pile in the car and everything.
Oh my gosh.
And I felt myself doing this and I was like, don't do this. Because I'm about to take them. Oh, and it was the one day of the week where it was one day of the year where dad comes in to dance with the girl.
Oh boy.
Which is like really
Yep.
sweet.
Yeah.
And I was joking with them all saying like, are you guys all a little bit worried that I'm going to show you up at dance?
Oh my.
And they were all roasting me. And then I am so embarrassed to say it. I was like, all right, I'm going to pull up some dancing. I'm going to pull up that I'm a little bit of a dancer. My wife was like, you're the worst, dude. Stop. And I showed some of these things to these little girls.
Yeah.
And it was like I don't know if it was a win or a loss, but they were in it. They were happy. Anyway,
Oh.
this book is good.
Thank you.
This is anything like words like this, like commitment, you can fall into cliches and you can land in spaces that we've all heard before. Like everybody kind of knows it's good to commit to things. But what I was really impressed with was your personal stories. Also that you both have kind of the authority to speak on this issue. Yeah. Must be like wild to be, we have an NFL player, a gold medal winner.
Thank you.
I feel like someone has in the self-help space or whatever, people are like, yeah, I just decided you should be like awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you why.
Yeah.
But when it comes to commitment, the two of you have a lot to teach here. And I was really impressed. And when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, you're getting at some hard to get at things. Like meaning like what it actually feels like. Everybody knows that like to get to a gold medal, to get to be an NFL player, there's going to be a lot of weird moments where you're alone and having to push through stuff. But you described it really, really, really well. Why did you do this?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Why do we do it? I feel like it's really needed in culture right now.
Yeah.
And we have talked through this idea for a long time. It took us 4 years to write. It was a labor
You
of
were
love.
committed to it.
We were committed to it.
Yes.
For better or worse. But we have just been seeing and learned that like there's skyrocketing rates of anxiety and depression. People are feeling very lost in life right now, and people aren't finding depth or meaning or purpose. And I think it's because there's so much noise and so many options, and
Yeah.
people are living 1 inch deep and a mile wide instead of really being seen and heard. And we explored this idea of commitment in book form, where we talk about and use our professional careers as like examples of
Yeah.
if you really go countercultural and stick with something and choose something and kind of create an environment to set yourself up for success, I think it's pretty cool what you can create, the depth and meaning and joy you can get from it.
I'm an old man now, and I've been doing creative pursuits professionally for like 20 years. And I would say that you're 100% right. That it didn't feel as much of a pull, like to create just like slow time where I am just blocked off and I know that what I'm doing is worth it. Feels harder now than maybe it did 10 years ago. It's a bummer.
We live in a really fast-paced world right now where people, like kind of like you said, they're selling this idea that you can hack your way to success, you can hack your way to joy and peace and purpose, and people write books about the 10 steps to finding happiness, and everything's a quick fix. And we kind of got proof of concept in our athletic careers that a slow, arduous, monotonous, boring, hard work can actually give you some of the greatest depth and joy in life.
It's kind of funny though, as we sit here talking to you, you could pretty much summarize the song or the book in the song that you wrote. That don't give up on me. It's like, dude, you just gotta stick with it. Don't give up. And then if you let compounding work its magic, you know, people talk about how money compounds over time, and then, you know, if you invest it over 40 years, then you'll look back and be like, wow, the growth is insane. And I think that concept applies to our marriage. And it's like, you know, it's not this romantic fireworks every day, but if I show up and I'm present and I listen and we have the argument and we tweak this the next time, then that connection will compound over time. Or it's like fitness and nutrition. It's like, it doesn't matter what diet you chose. It's if you just show up every day and you stick to the diet that you've been given, it's gonna result in changes. Yeah. And I think people expect it to be a little more exciting than it is, but if you just keep showing up and you keep extending the runway and it's like you keep writing songs, then you're giving yourself opportunities for there to be some breakthrough moment, you know?
Yeah. It's so interesting, even just like the idea that it feels harder now to be like, what you're getting at in your book is that you will be bored and there will be a lot of time that seems kind of mundane. And I think that we are the mundane and the bored is under attack more in 2026 than it was in 2016.
Absolutely.
It's just like coming at you all the time.
Well, people are selling the idea that boredom means you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I think people are being sold this idea that a dopamine hit should be happening every second of the day. And you can probably find that.
You can.
But you can't find depth in that.
And that's why, you know, we had the happiness that you
Arthur
read in the
Brooks.
book, and he was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That if you're stuck here all the time, you're not going to get to the place that you actually want to get to.
Yeah. We tried to write out this process chapter by chapter, which is what we've done with our life. And it's basically like we figure out what our values are. We find what truly means the most to us. We create an environment to protect that. And then we just kind of go all in and we say no to everything else. And it might leave you in a state of feeling like you have FOMO, but it really works.
I don't know how you feel. I think freedom is often painted as, you know, no constraints. And I can do anything I want. And I don't know if you've experienced this creatively, but like sometimes it helps to have some guidelines. I know you do the voicemail songs, which is amazing. And it's like that focusing filter can be really powerful. And it results in an outcome that's like meaningful to you. And so I think instead of defining freedom as loosey-goosey, I'm free to do whatever, it's like, no, freedom is the ability to do what means most to you. And like saying no to everything else. Yeah. And I just think that people get confused on that. It's like there will be constraints, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's you know, one of the things that was the most stressful about this podcast was it's called Showing Up, and so I was trying to put my my all into it, and I said like, all right, I'll write a song for every episode. And I knew that was going to be a whole situation because I know what that takes.
Yep.
And then that has forced me, once we put up on social media, like, all right, well, start sending me stuff because I'm going to make one for every episode. That was me. That was for me the like, holy shit, I'm all in.
Yeah.
There's no backing out. Like, I'm in. Here we go. This thing either is going to be awesome or terrible, but no matter what it is, I'm going to do it. So like, here we go. And for sure, like interviewing the guests has been incredible, but as incredible has just been listening to all these, like the act of having to do it every week. Like it has to get done. And so there's a tension, there's an anxiety, but there's also a really deep, sweet joy that comes from sitting and committing to something like that, It's been really great.
Now a quick moment from our sponsors and we'll jump right back in. Dads are superheroes, so while we celebrate them, let's also remind them to check in with themselves. A lot of men grew up without examples of openly talking about emotional well-being, and were taught to push through instead of checking in. Carrying everything quietly for too long can take a serious toll, and dad deserves all the support in the world. One thing that doesn't get talked about enough with dads is the pressure to always be okay. And a lot of men grew up thinking that carrying everything silently is somehow strength. But honestly, I've learned that real strength is being willing to check in with yourself and let other people in when things feel heavy. So during busy seasons, what helps me most is having spaces where I can actually be honest with friends, with family, and often with a therapist. Just saying things out loud changes everything. That's one reason I appreciate BetterHelp. They've helped over 6 million people worldwide connect with licensed therapists, and they make the process feel way less intimidating. You fill out a short questionnaire, they match you with a therapist based on your needs, and if it's not the right fit, you can switch anytime. Fatherhood comes with a lot of pressure, and Men's Mental Health Month is a reminder that you don't have to carry it alone. Find support in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/showingup. That's betterhelp.com/showingup. All right, back to the show.
You were talking about, what is it? It's like in the chapter of Going Public that you did this.
Yeah. The accountability, which is exactly what you did. I basically said it out loud. There's a whole story that I share where I basically announced to the world I was going to make a comeback in gymnastics before I even processed the idea that I was going to do it.
That's so much crazier than writing a couple songs for a podcast. That's different.
Yeah. There's a lot. I could have written a lot more about this, but I was in a very hard place in life. I was emotionally, physically just in a dark place and very lost. I didn't know what direction to take in life, and I couldn't get myself to make a choice to do anything. I didn't know whether I should go back to gymnastics. I didn't know if I should start a new career. I was physically not healthy. I was mentally not healthy. I was really having a hard time. And I remember it almost feeling like a desperate cry in my heart.
Yeah.
Standing on stage in front of thousands of people where I was like, you know what? I am going to go back. And it was this thing of like, I have to choose something because I'm so paralyzed and not making any choice. And I just told the world that I have to do it. So
here we go.
The world is now expecting me to do it. And it was a really, really gutsy way to have a lot of accountability partners.
Quite a few accountability partners.
I did it. And I got myself into a very healthy place. I had a wonderful team that came out of the woodworks to kind of help me make a comeback to gymnastics. And I got myself in a place that I was really proud of. I had completed that. And I was able to kind of move on to the next thing. But I think having accountability partners is really important.
Can be huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I did the same thing. I was like, what did I just do?
That's wild.
After it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, yeah, now I have to do it. Oh, boy.
What you split the book into like why, what, and how, which is so smart. Getting around something, I just feel like you picked a topic and then you came at it from every single possible angle to use your expertise. How did you actually go about creating the framework for it?
It was a lot.
It took probably 12, 18 months to land on this topic and realize that we kind of had this epiphany where Shawn and I had just had our 200th argument about the same thing, which was dogs.
Probably.
We argue often about
kids.
The proper way to raise our dogs.
Oh, really?
And
who's loose and who's strict?
Shawn treats dogs like they're humans, which is great. I love it. I've learned a lot from it, and I'm like, yeah, it's a dog, like it's fine. But we just had, a lot of repetitions at that argument, and I realized that, okay, I got to start changing my approach to this in order for us to progress on this topic at all. And then I was realizing that it was not unlike my athletic career. Our athletic career was, you have a gymnastic skill that you're trying to get after, or a play that you're trying to perfect. You're not going to get it on the first rep. And so you just got to understand that this is a process that if I stick to it long enough and we keep walking down this path, and I keep having an awareness about what's working, what's not working, what can I tweak, that approach leads to like growth. And then you'll eventually resolve the argument maybe, and maybe you'll stick that gymnastics move. And even with our podcast, we don't have this insane podcast, but we've been doing a lot of reps at it, and eventually you're like, okay, I can interview someone, I can feel comfortable with this.
With the format of the book, though, there was a lot of trying to figure a lot of things out, because it wasn't just one person writing a book. We have very different voices. I speak very emotionally in the book. He speaks very factual and statistical with like a lot of data.
Her way's better. Her way's better.
We even brought in a third writer to help kind of have a third voice and blend it all together. And he's also a research writer, so he brought in a lot of science behind it. But then the format of it, the how, what, why. Why, I'm blanking. And then each of those chapters, there's a lot of processes and protocols. It was this idea of how can we bulletproof our argument? And how can we approach it at every possible way someone could come at me and say, or come at us and say, but what about this? So it's why commitment, how commitment, and the what, and like all of the structures and processes that we've implemented in our relationship and our business and it's everything our coaches taught us and our mentors. And we've had the fortune of working with therapists and thought leaders and done intensives around the world about finding your values and how to lead a purpose-driven life. And we take all of that and put it into each one. But it was truly just trying to approach it from every angle.
Get at it from every spot. It's like I was saying, I have experienced what it's like to commit to something, and like, I was a street performer for 4 years, which is like a long time to be doing that. A long time to be like kind of ignored, kind of confused. Like, this is like that's way past that's making peace with like, all right, well, this might be what I do, right? Like this might be my spot. And so I intimately know the quiet, mundane, doing something that you think is valuable. Can you speak a little bit about that, and how to know how to even know what to choose to go be boring and mundane at for a long time? How do you know what to commit to?
I think about my football schedule, and we would have 12 games that we'd play in the fall, but we would have year-round practice. And it was that practice that took up most of the year that prepared us for those big highlight moments. And you don't get one without the other. And so I think I was just learning about how one becomes intrinsically motivated. Like how did you wake up on year 3 of being a street performer and say, I'm gonna go back out there today? And then you did it again year 4. And it's like, there's this process that it's broken down into 4 steps. It's like starts with this curiosity about something. So, I was curious about football. I engaged with it. The second is constant exposure. So I played all youth sports, and then I loved football, so I kept doing that as long as I could. And then the third step is kind of this like gamification, where it's like theory crafting, and you start having this ability to play with the thing. And you're like, okay, now I can play different chords, and I'm going to riff in a different way, and maybe I'm going to play the same song for the 1000th time, but I'm going to tweak this and that. And it makes that mundane moment new to you as the artist.
The mundane.
And then the last is like seeking outside advice and counsel. And I'm like, man, that's a pretty sweet trajectory. If I am new to something, or if I'm in a transition of life, like we were after our athletic careers, it's overwhelming. Like you don't know what to do. I feel like there was no overlap between what I had learned in football and what was next in my life. So it's like, okay, let me be curious about something, and then I can sample in that time period, and then anything that sparks my interest, uniquely and a lot, let me just continue to expose myself to that, and then see like how am I able to play with this thing. And I'm like, okay, sweet. Now I know that I can pretty much, get involved with anything I want to if I understand that this is a process. So
I think too, to add to that, just another idea is, I do think the world tells us what we should do in a very interesting way. I think the world tries to favor making a lot of money, climbing a corporate ladder, finding your way to celebrity or success or whatever. The world tries to say that's what's valuable. But I do think a different way to answer your question is, if you find something that's valuable to you and that you love, I think that alone is the thing you should always remember, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like showing up and doing something that might feel mundane to the world's definition, but actually holds value to you, is incredibly purposeful.
Yeah.
But the world will try to tell you it's different. So being a street performer for 4 years, you had to have loved it to a certain extent.
Yes.
There are days where it gets boring, but at the heart of what you're doing, the reason why you started, it's because you loved the art of it.
Yeah, it was really fun. Now it was kind of before social media was like happening. So now people can post a song that they just wrote and kind of get some feedback. And that was kind of analog version of that. And it was like fascinating.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And it was like just a really great way to try and to play and be a part of the thing.
You're saying you would test songs with the audience?
Of course. I would write.
So cool.
I would write songs to test, and then I would just like also try covers of all these different songs. And based on how everybody was reacting to the covers or the new songs, I would kind of like go home and then readjust and come back. And over, about 4 years, I had about almost like a stand-up comedian or something. I had like 15 minutes that were like, these kill.
That's awesome.
These 15 minutes work.
Yeah.
And then I luckily had a song called Keep Your Head Up. And I would go around to all the radio stations around the, once I got signed, it was like going around the country. And I'd go in and I had 15 minutes. The same 15 minutes I'd play to every radio director. And that's
amazing.
How it like kind of works. Yeah.
But at the heart of your perseverance and drive there is a love for your craft.
Yes.
And I would argue that everybody has a craft. It's just they have to find it.
Yeah.
And it's probably not always one of the things that the world says is cool.
And and also what you guys talked about is being okay with kind of being a little bit surgical about it. Like what you're speaking to right now feels like almost spiritual and like, ooh, like what is it? And then there's kind of like very calculated, like, okay, cool, to try to capture whatever the hell we're talking about, do these things.
Exactly.
So tell me some of the things to do.
The surgical side of that, though, is how we approach it, which is what we're doing with our children right now. Expose yourself. Try everything. We had we paid to do this intensive for a guy came into Nashville, and we sat for 12 hours a day for 3 days, and it was all about like finding your values and what's important to you and all these different things.
With just the three of you?
Just us two. Yeah. And the guy. Yeah.
Awesome.
It was amazing.
Intense and cool and weird.
Intense.
Yeah.
But
Edward.
He did this very simple, he did this very simple thing where he's like, I want you to go home and I want you to write a laundry list. It can be as long as you want of every little tiny hobby, craft, activity in life that you want to try that you haven't done before. He said, ride a horse, knit, make sourdough, drive NASCAR, whatever it is, go to med school, like write a laundry list. And he said, as adults, a lot of times we forget that we're able to try new things.
Yeah.
And sometimes we become too like logical about it, of like, oh, that just doesn't make sense. Forget that. And I think the whole spiritual side of like finding your treasures, you have to allow yourself to like be really bad at something, but to fall in love with it.
Yeah.
If you try a very random act or a very random hobby and you're like, that was really, really cool, maybe that's one of these things that becomes an obsession and a new career, but you have to allow yourself to find it,
to give it a shot.
Yeah.
It was really fun, and unpacking and exploring the topic of commitment. We kind of stumbled upon, okay, well, everyone has these treasures, so how can we come up with a system to spark that awareness in people? And so we talk about, our system for coming up with our personal values and our family values, and it's like a very quantitative process almost. And then we talk about how we set our goals that, we've been doing this now for 9 years, and at the beginning, our goals of where we wanted to be and where we were like massively different. There's a huge gap there.
Yeah.
And now that we're 9 years in, it's like we're just making little small tweaks at this point. And so it's kind of fun to like whittle down and hone in on what exactly the good life is for us. And so we have this whole list of over 150 things that we measure, and we put a data point to where it's like, okay, how many date nights are we going to go on this year?
How often do we measure this?
We're nerds. We measure a lot.
We measure a lot, but it's like,
it's unbelievable.
Dude.
Yeah.
First of all, me and my wife, if she was here, we'd be like, yeah, we like this. I'm not going to do that. Are you going to do that? Who's the measure?
No, we're not like, so to clarify, we're not like doing tally marks, all throughout the day. But when you reflect on how many nights a week did you have friends over, it's like, okay, you kind of have a rough idea within the ballpark of what that looks like. And is that the right amount or too little, too much? And tweak that, like just put a number to it and say, okay, if we did 4 group hangs with friends last month and that didn't feel like enough, let's just call it 6 next month.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Do you have the same need for group hangs with friends, or is it differing levels?
Differing levels. Oh my gosh.
You want more group hangs?
Oh yeah, you already you got dialed.
And
in.
you're like, can we get everybody out of here? Or do you like to hang out with people?
I love to host people.
Love to host.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like people in my house.
Host is a different thing than a hang, because a host requires like a lot of prep and making sure that you love all this.
I love it.
Yeah. My wife has put me into quadrants, which I'm not going to even say it. I don't put him into quadrants. He's my new friend, and I don't want to like hurt his feelings yet. But she put me into quadrants. I think with her therapist, they come up with this, which is if I was allowed by my wife, would love to just live in a commune with like
people
as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Let's get a house that has 17 rooms.
Absolutely.
I literally set up my life to go on tour with all my friends. It's like 24/7. We're all together all the time. And so when I get home,
it's amazing community though.
It's great.
Oh my gosh,
it's the best.
Yeah.
So when I get home and I'm like when I'm, the weekend is put into 4 quadrants, which is like the beginning of Saturday, the end of Saturday, like middle.
Yeah.
And then she goes, you can have 2.
I like that.
You can only have 2. And it stresses me out picking which 2. Because like if you want to have just like a big relaxed full Saturday, then you're spending your quadrant money, and then you can't hang out with people on Sunday. So like this is some, there's give and take. We've figured it out.
Yeah.
This is our version. It's beautiful. Yeah.
But you've blended it and you figured it out.
We figured it out.
Basically what we define is that you figured out your values, what fills your guys' cups.
Yeah.
And you figure out how to structure your days and your weeks around it. And if your weeks and your days can reflect what actually is meaningful to you, you're living a life that is like suited to you.
Yes, this is the idea.
A lot of times people they just aim so I just made up a word. I think
No,
wanderously.
I like
it.
Yeah. I understand
Let's
it.
go with it.
It came out of my mouth. I was like, that's not a word. But people just like wander through life making choices impulsively rather than for a purpose that actually serves where they want to end up in life. And that happened to us, where what he referenced, the goal setting, 9 years ago, we sat down to write our goals out for our life and realized that we were living a beautiful life.
Yeah.
But it looked nothing like we wanted it to, because we were making impulsive decisions on a daily basis saying, oh, this feels good today. But then we were like, in the grand scheme of things, we're not doing what we want. And it's really cool to now having done this for 9 years, to look at our goals for next year and say, we're actually living our dream life right now.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
There's a quote that goes, everyone ends up somewhere in life. Some people just end up there on purpose.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, that's great. Like there's a lot of different ways to live a good life. And we're not saying that you need to, make sourdough and have chickens like
or
we
measure
do. That
everything.
might not be your flavor,
You
but
guys have
like
chickens?
But
we do have chickens.
But it could be like
we got 10 chickens. 10 ladies.
But are you building towards the life that you do want? Do you have an awareness of that? And Shawn and I kind of we catch some slack because people are like, wow, you guys are so rigid and so structured. Do you ever lose the spontaneity and like the whimsy of life? And I just know myself well enough that if I leave it up to chance, I'm going to be completely irresponsible with my time, with my spontaneous time, my unstructured time. I'm going to be pulling up social media, turning on Netflix, and like lounging. So it is my goal now to have a very full schedule. I'm not saying like be frantically busy, but I'm saying I have date night Thursday night on our schedule, 5 to 9. I have Sunday mornings blocked out for our day of delight. We have Saturday morning workouts.
Tell me about the day of delight. This is cool. I liked reading about this.
But my point is like, don't leave it up to chance. Like once you know what you want, go get it and be intentional towards that. And one of those is day of delight. So
day of delight, you could argue it's a Sabbath as well.
Sure.
Depends on where you're looking at it. But we call it day of delight because it's like we take a day away from our phones. We take a day just of community, of being at home. And we only do things that we love. Things that like fill our cups up, whether it's going for a walk with our kids or all of us have kind of made these laundry lists of things that we love.
Making a fire, e-bikes, dude. That just like
playing catch with our kids. Drawing, coloring. It's like we don't do TV, we don't do phones. We home cook a meal that anybody's welcome to come to. It's a very like open door policy.
Cool.
And everybody knows about it.
You're invited.
I'm invited.
Yeah. If you're ever in Nashville, come on.
If it's in one of the quadrants that I can make it.
I'm coming.
But it's one of those things where we don't budge on it. And I think very, very rarely now have we ever given up one of those days for work or an event because those are very valuable to us.
Yeah. You know, and one of the things that is in the environment that you're in can help steer you towards the life that you want. And I'll just keep saying, because it's like ringing so true to me, that it probably has always been very important. The idea of the skill of commitment has always been important for if anybody ever wants to do anything of value or meaning or greatness. But when our minds are under attack from this phone, it's not just for like someone who's trying to win a gold medal. It's just like, are you trying to just exist? We need discipline. We need to be able to commit to things. Speak to me about environment.
We write about the environment. We do a whole chapter on it, on setting your environment up to help your goals achieve, like be successful. And it's as simple as there's so many distractions in life that are going to try to sabotage your goals. So if your goals are really important to you, you need to kind of start weeding things out and setting up your environment to help. An example we gave, which was very, very little, but one of our values that we kind of came to and agreed on is togetherness. It's like very important for our family. We love spending as much time as we can as a unit of 5. So like us and our kids. So if sports and stuff start taking our family in different directions, it's kind of like, oh, it's not really important to us anymore. It's important for us to stay as a family unit.
Yes.
But we were noticing that every night we were spending a lot of time together, cooking, eating dinner, and sitting around the table. But we are all distracted by the TV in our living room.
I'll have sports on 24/7. I freaking love watching sports, and I'm dialed in to whatever it is.
But even if the TV was off, our kids were noticing it, and they were curious when the next movie was going to come on or cartoons. And it seems very second nature for everybody in the world right now to have a TV in their living room. But for us, we kind of looked at that and we're like, that seems to be an issue for us with our togetherness values. So we said, let's get rid of the TV, and got rid of the TV in our living room. And
this is small, but this is radical.
Small and radical.
This is a big move.
It changed our house.
Yeah, totally.
Completely. Our kids don't even think twice about the TV. We sit around the table every single night and have the most wonderful dinner with our kids, and they know, like, it's just second nature to them that there's no technology at dinner time.
Yeah.
They know when it's dinner time. They like everything. And we were having wonderful conversations, and nobody was just itching for the TV to be on.
Another example we give, this is background on me. I could eat cereal for every meal. I could eat cereal 8 times a day, dude. I would only consume cereal if I could.
Same with our children.
Good cereal? Sugary cereal?
No, dude, sugary
terrible
cereal. Honestly,
dude, I know that I'm over 40 because if I eat a sugary cereal, my face looks like I got stung by bees.
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Oh no.
I feel terrible.
Oh, and
It's like a hangover,
but it's
from like
what is happening to
Fruity
our
Pebbles.
bodies?
Something
Even like a glass
bad.
of wine, I'm like, I feel
Oh,
terrible
feel
for
terrible.
for a week.
Yeah,
I
cereal's
love
great,
it. I
and it's so
love it
fast
so
you
much.
just don't get it.
No.
Well, yeah. So Sean and I start doing the relationship thing. We're married, and now the
No
environment that I'm in, there's no cereal, and it's like, okay, as opposed to me waking up and battling every day with, I know cereal's not good. I'm looking at it though, and I can't resist it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, just shape your environment
Yeah.
to make it easy to accomplish your goal, or like towards health, whatever that means. If it's togetherness with your family, take the TV out. If it's lowering your carb intake, take the cereal. And it's like, that way it just simplifies things.
Now, a quick moment from our sponsors and we'll jump right back in. I've always had a kind of complicated relationship with skincare because honestly, I never knew what was real and what was marketing. Every product promises some miracle, and suddenly you feel like you need 12 serums and a full nighttime ritual. So what caught my attention about OneSkin was actually the science behind it. The company was founded by longevity researchers, and instead of asking, how do we cover up aging, they asked, how do we actually help skin function healthier for longer? That led to this peptide they developed called OS1, which is designed to target these damaged senescent cells that contribute to skin aging at the source, which I thought was fascinating because it's not just cosmetic, it's about skin health. And personally, I've loved how uncomplicated it is. I use the moisturizer pretty consistently, especially when I'm traveling a lot. And I've noticed my skin just feels healthier, smoother, less dry, less worn down. It's subtle, but in a good way. Like I look more rested instead of looking like I did skincare. I also appreciate that it's rooted in actual research. Peer-reviewed clinical studies, over 10,000 five-star reviews, and it genuinely feels like a smarter, simpler approach. So if you want skincare that's science-backed, check out OneSkin. Born from over a decade of longevity research, OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. For a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using code SHOWINGUP at oneskin.co/showingup. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code SHOWINGUP. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Go to oneskin.co/showingup for 15% off with code SHOWINGUP. All right, back to the show.
We go as far as to say that taking a good look at the people you spend time with, in relation to your goals and your values, the places that you visit on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, the vacations you take, it's looking at everything in your life and saying what is helping us succeed and what is a distraction or taking you in the wrong direction.
So after 3 days with this person, you guys felt pretty solid. This was 9 years ago you did this?
Oh, yeah. No.
4 years ago?
We did that one 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just such a valuable thing to do.
It's incredible.
Even without the guy, but get the guy if you want. What's his name? Do we know?
It's through the Patterson Center.
Patterson. I mean, the top, like, I'm someone who gets very intense and can stay like in the weeds of everything, and every once in a while to sit to like just look at the whole picture and be like, are we going where we want to go?
Yes.
Here?
Yeah. Do you know what your values are? Like the way we position it is like, what's your operating system? What makes
okay? Take me down. I'll try to explain, but give me some like, what are we talking about?
So this is a compilation of a lot of different counselors we've had, but ultimately, I think people think about values as if they're aspirational. Like, honesty is a value.
Yeah.
It's like,
sure,
that's great. Maybe that is your value, but let's talk about what's happened in your life. What's your backstory? What pivot points have you had? What environments do you thrive in? What skills do you have? What have mentors and outside people told you? There's kind of like this sequence of questions that we have you answer, and then like you answer them, then you find commonalities and you describe what those commonalities are, like, and you group those together, and then at the end of it you have the operating system for my values is I need to be in a competitive environment, right? I need to have constant mentorship and people that I'm also helping guiding, and it's like this curiosity that I have that I've seen helps me thrive and flourish. And so it's like it ends up being a list of rather generic words, but when I read them, I'm like, that is what makes me me, and that list makes Shawn Shawn, and then
we have one as a family. Like what makes your family unique? What are the things that you and your wife enforce so strongly and believe so strongly about that you feel the need to teach your kids?
Yeah.
And there can be 100 of them, but there's usually like a top 5 that are kind of like, those are heavy hitters. So,
and it's like your DNA, dude. It's like how you were made. And it's really fun to walk through this process. It took us a full day the first time. And then, at some point we tried to just randomly choose words that we thought sounded good from a list. But then you're like, the more we sat with it and the more we heard people say, you got to understand like we would always listen to business leaders say, you got to know your values. And I'm like, okay,
you're like, what does that mean?
What does that mean? And it's been super helpful for us to say, you know what, Shawn, that is that irks me when you do that, because it goes against this value that I hold personally and that we agreed to have with our family too together. And it gives you vocabulary and a little specificity on what's going right and what's not and why.
Can you give me an actual
I was gonna say ours. I was gonna say, do you want ours? Our family values are curiosity. And these are like very specific to like just how we operate. And if you were to know our family very closely, you'd be like, yeah, those all make sense. Curiosity, playfulness, togetherness, generous stewardship. So like the hosting, the giving back, the going, like all of those things. And then faith.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are our like 5 compass steering values that it seems like if one of those get sacrificed, we feel it deeply as a family.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go do this. This sounds great. I'm in. One of my values is community.
Yeah.
Community is like huge.
Yeah.
To get as many people around and then to show up and serve each other in different ways. Mm-hmm. But that was interesting.
That's great.
Because that helped me. I'm always nervous about I don't know, how do I describe this? Wealth has always been scary to me. I've talked about it on this podcast a little bit too. Like I don't want it for the wrong reasons. I don't want to have that be a driving factor. And this process this year has been like, oh no, you're not trying to like ball out. You're a community guy.
Yeah.
And this is like your light dims unless you have this space. And I'm sure there's other ways I could do it. I could invite everybody to the park, whatever. But in my world, that's like what I need to go. Yeah.
I love that.
Shawn will laugh at this, but I consider myself a minimalist.
You're not.
And well, it's
a
like,
minimalist.
I don't know if you ever like dug into that philosophy, but it's like, or the Marie Kondo, where it's
spark joy, baby.
100%. Yeah. And I think it's so interesting. It's
not
like
a minimalist.
It's not. It does nothing to you if you're just accumulating things for the sake of accumulating. Yeah. But I think it's like if you have nice things that spark joy and do certain things, and it's meaningful to you, and you're intentional with it, and it's not like you roll up to the car lot and you're like, give me the most expensive one. You're like, no, you know what, my dad, maybe it's a nice car, maybe it's not. My dad drove this car, and to me there's so many memories, and it's like there is something to.
Are you guys car people?
No.
Neither. That was another area for me that I learned that was actually on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
Because I pulled into the lot with a beater, and they have your name in front of your spot there. Yep. And so then I was like, oh shit. I was kind of new to the like public figure thing, and I was like, I think I need to get like a nice car. This is like people can see. It's one thing to like drive a shitty car, but to drive it into a lot with your name on it is like, oh, this is a lot.
Yeah.
So then I like went and got a really nice car.
Oh gosh.
And then realized over like about 2 years, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. It's like it's having a certain amount of conviction about the decisions you're making, and it's like, again, it's a slight intentionality or part intentionality, part conviction of like, hey, someone makes fun of Andy for the car he's driving, be like, you know what, actually I've had this thing since I was 16 years old, and I love it, and this is what I have. And it's like
learning how to own
you got to be sure of yourself, and I think it's a beautiful process when you're like, hey, this is a not nice thing that I have high conviction around, this is a nice thing that I have high conviction around, or whatever the decision is. It becomes like, informative to how I'm understanding you as a person. It's great.
What I'm getting is that that commitment is not just like what makes a commitment stick is maybe is a lot of what we're talking about is like if you are aligned with why you're doing something, then when you say like, all right, I'm gonna stick with this even when it gets hard, it's like the roots are deep enough to hold.
Yes.
Absolutely. If there's meaning there that you've invested in, it makes it harder to quit.
You were so young.
I was really young.
Was it just like people pleasy and you were good at it, and then the roots were there, or you knew?
I was just obsessed.
You were obsessed.
I was in love with gymnastics.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Since when?
I thought I could fly as a 3-year-old.
Okay.
So wound up in the ER a lot. My parents put me in gymnastics because it was a padded playground.
Okay, great.
I fell in love with the trampoline because it reinforced my thought that I could fly.
Great.
And never looked back. My parents tried to get me out of gymnastics many times. They thought it was too time consuming. You know, they wanted me home. My mom would bribe me to go shopping. And
oh my God.
all I wanted was gymnastics.
You just loved it.
Loved it. Tried so many other sports, but I just had a passion for it.
There's so many people that are listening like, well, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel that way about anything.
But I will say, I went through many hard times where I wanted to quit.
Sure.
And having those self-reflective moments of, I had a beautiful team around me who, if I ever said I wanted to quit, they're like, great, quit.
Totally.
Which was really eye-opening for me because I had to then make the decision on my own. I couldn't allow someone to make it for me, which I think is what I wanted to do. But it made me have a lot of thoughts about, do I actually want to quit? Why do I want to quit? Why did I start? And usually I had invested so much time and effort that in my mind I was like, I actually can't walk away from this.
I can't.
Yeah.
A couple of things worth noting too. Like, we're not advocating that, hey, you need to commit to everything full on. Like, you know, go commit to anything and everything that's in front of you. It's like we kind of walk through this process of what's the right thing to dig your heels into.
Yeah.
And then we also talk about, we don't want to say, if it's not working, keep bashing your head against the wall. We have this whole chapter about pruning certain commitments that you might have made previously that are now preventing growth in other commitments, you know? And so there's this process that we tried to unpack. That was a really good challenge for us to think about as we write a book about the importance of sticking with something, the realization that some things need to be uncommitted from. And also, like, we're not saying if you follow, or if you read this book and follow our steps, you're going to win an Olympic gold medal or make it to the NFL. It's like, what we're saying is everyone's interests are different. Everyone's ceiling is different. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's the way it should be. And in order for you to give your potential a chance, you have to stick with something. And whether your potential is Olympic gymnastics or college gymnastics or level 8 gymnastics or the NFL or college or whatever, it's like, if you love the thing and you want to see the runway all the way through, like, this is how we've experienced it. So,
yeah. There's just a lot of my favorite things, whether it's depth, meaning, joy, a lot of that stuff comes from sticking with something. That's like a byproduct of it. Yeah. And I'm just ringing the bell again that is harder now than it has been before. Like, I don't know that when I was in high school, it just wasn't as hard.
No.
To be your attention was not being attacked consistently. You know, it's different.
It's hard because, you know, the swipe right culture where there's an app for everything and everything's catered to you. There's so many good options. People end up getting paralyzed because they're waiting for the best option. That might just be the next one. And so they end up they end up making mistakes not because they chose the wrong option, but because they didn't choose it all. Yeah. And so what we're saying is, like, you choose a good option. It's up to you to make it the best option. There's a little growing and cultivating there. And, you know, I like reading some of the classics, and one of the stories that we included in there was this, the story from the Odyssey, where the guy's on a mission to make it back home to his family. It's like Homer's the Odyssey. And so he's on the ship and he's going by the island of the Sirens, where it's like this temptation, this they're calling his name, and it could be the algorithm from social media, or it could be the next shiny, exciting opportunity, and it could be calling your name like a temptation. And so what he does is he has people tie himself to the mast of the boat. And he's like, no matter what happens, even if my ears are bleeding from temptation and I want to go over there with everything I have, I'm tying myself to this mast and this mission and this one thing. And it's like there's a lot of psychological things that go on with that, but it's like when you build a piece of IKEA furniture, it means more to you, because you have investment into that. You made the choice, like you did it. And so it's really fascinating to apply that in this culture where you could choose anything. There's so many different things. You could date a million different people this week, but it's like, are you ever going to get married? Maybe not. Or you could job hop if you want. Are you ever going to have a meaningful career? I don't know. I want to tie myself to the mast and like keep on pressing on.
Yeah. It's great. I'm in. I love all of it. Tell me about the kip. That was also fascinating.
The kip.
I was like, wait, what does that actually look like? And
do you know CrossFit?
Not really.
Have you ever seen it?
Can you tell? My daughters were ripping me on the way to school yesterday. They're like, Grandpa, it seems like he has bigger muscles than you, Dad.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's great. Okay,
but so have you seen CrossFit?
I've seen it. I know what it is. Yes.
You know muscle up?
No.
Where like they go from hanging on the bottom of the bar to like up here.
Oh yes.
That's basically
a
kip.
Okay.
That's a very not pretty one.
Controversial right there, Shawn.
It is.
Wow.
So you're hanging and then you're up.
Yes, but in gymnastics, it's beautifully done.
Okay.
Not done in the sense of the CrossFit world.
Okay.
That's for a different story. But the kip is a very foundational skill in gymnastics.
Yes.
In order to compete pretty much in 99% of the levels of gymnastics, you have to have a kip. And it's one of the absolute hardest skills to learn. It's very technical, and the only way you can learn it is by trial and error.
Yeah.
I, even as a coach, could teach you, I could put you through some things, but you just got to try it, and you got to fail at it, and you got to fail at it. Some people twice, some people 2 million times in order to get it. I tell the story of my kip where it took me a year to learn it. And it was
an actual year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to think too, back then at that age, I was probably going to gymnastics once a week. So that's like, I didn't go every week,
Exactly.
Yeah. But it took me a year. And I remember being so frustrated and being so worn down because I just failed over and over and over again for a year on one skill. And I remember that feeling of when I finally got it, feeling the same feeling I felt at the Olympics, just euphoria of I had pushed through a year of just failure.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
And I remember my coach telling me then that if you can learn a kip in gymnastics, you can learn any skill.
You can learn it all.
Because I can honestly say there was not another skill in my career that took that long to learn. And it's a very it's a milestone in gymnastics because a lot of times people will quit over that skill.
Over the kip.
Yeah, because it's a deciding factor, and it's a deciding skill of, are you willing to put in enough effort and be humbled enough and to work through that, or will you let it discourage you enough to say, I'm not willing to work through this one. It's not for me.
I'm trying to think of what the music kip is. I think it's just like, are you down to have everyone think you suck?
Yeah.
Like
that is what it would equate to in gymnastics.
Like in music, you get up there, you do an open mic, you just are consistently putting yourself out there. And something about it, it's your voice, it's you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you like do your thing, and then everybody goes like, eh.
I think this is actually my nightmares. Okay.
What is?
I think I've actually had nightmares about me like singing.
Singing?
Yeah.
It's just that like for me, the kip was actually just singing unasked on the street.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again, to the point where I actually don't care if you like it.
Yeah.
I've been beaten down so hard that I just sincerely, I mean, I care. I'd rather you like it than you don't like it, but that will have no effect on whether I'm going to do this today. Like, I'm going to do this.
We've talked about this a lot. In gymnastics, going back to the kip, I see it. I see it now with like friends. I'll have friends' kids where they'll get to such a frustrated point where even the parents will say, well, what gym should I switch them to? What coach should I take them to? Because there's got to be an easier way to do this.
Yeah.
And you see that over and over in so many different areas of life of it gets hard and you start thinking it shouldn't be this hard.
Yeah.
So there must be an easier way to fix it rather than just.
It just is.
It just is.
There's no way around it.
It's a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
I remember I had I think that I was speaking to a songwriter who had 20 number ones in a lot of them in country. And I was like, dude, how?
Yeah.
What do you know that I don't know?
Yeah.
And he said, basically, about 1 every 100.
Wow. Yeah.
So I've just written 2,000 songs.
Yeah.
And most people just won't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it really drops off of like, for most of my records, I write 100.
Yeah.
And that's how you get the good stuff.
Also, that's crazy.
Yeah, but it's very similar to what, you know, you're just like doing reps to dig up the good stuff.
Yeah.
So then it's like, am I talented?
Yeah.
Yeah. Question mark?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if it's 100, that means I've written so many, and then you're almost more perseverance based than you are talent based.
100%.
But then also by the time that now you're on your almost on the 6th album or 5th album or something, it's like, well, now you've written so many songs that now skill starts to play in the game a little bit, you know.
Yeah, that's
last man standing.
Beautifully said. I also heard the story about John Williams, the composer.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I think especially in music, people are like, oh, you must have been struck by a muse, like had some creative inspiration strike you and like, boom, you were hit with that song. A guy like John Williams wakes up every day, writes a score of music. He does that every day. And one of them turns into the Harry Potter musical or the Jaws. And it's like, but you don't, like, you have to put in the work. It's not some magic. It's you show up, you give it you're increasing your probability of hitting a hit song every time you hit a song.
Okay, so people are listening. Some of them are going like, yeah, I'm good at committing to things. This is great. You're reinforcing my belief in this. So somebody in their car right now is like, yeah, I super need to commit to something. I want to like stick to things. What is their takeaway? How do we get in? What's the thing? Someone is, I am now that person. I've just been morphed in front of you. And they're like, I feel like I'm adrift in my life. Where do I start? What can you tell them?
I would start with your values.
Really?
Find out what's important to you. Because then you can look at all the options ahead of you and put a big filter on it. I think you have to figure out what your navigating compass is, filter all your options, and with whatever is left, choose one.
Yeah.
I would say mentorship. We wrote a whole chapter on this, and I think it's really helpful to get outside perspective and counsel where there's people around you, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your teachers or coaches who have seen you live life on a daily basis. And they're like, you know what, Andrew, let me speak for myself. Not a great student, like not great in academics, but athletically, like pretty good. And he's interested in it, and it brings him to life. I've seen it in PE and all this different. And so you're like, if you sit down with people who are close to you and know your story and know you, and you say, hey, what have you seen that lights me up? Or what have you seen that I'm good at? Or, you know, one of the values question is, what do people seek your advice in? And like, you know, what are people asking you about? It starts painting this mosaic of like, oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah. Miss Eldridge did say that I'm really good at writing. So let me just start there. And then that person also said that they love my storytelling. So now maybe I'm doing fiction writing, you know, maybe I'm like crafting story. And then you start giving that a couple reps, and then you can tweak it along the way, but you got to start stacking reps, and the mentorship can help you know where to get started there.
Okay. My last question. First of all, you're fantastic. We need to hang out. I'm coming to hang out.
Thank you. Great.
I'm gonna plan a non-quadrant.
I love this. Bring your
about
girls.
to have a kid.
I'll bring my
dude.
girls.
You are not coming to hang anytime soon,
know.
dude. You are
Oh, yeah,
not.
you're having a
No
baby.
I'm not.
chance, dude.
I'm
You
not
got-
coming anytime soon.
We'll see you in 6 months.
In 6 months.
Yeah.
One of the things that was fascinating to me was your description and story of the yips.
Oh,
For anyone
yeah.
that's not sportsy,
Oh man.
the yips is one of the most terrifying things in the world. Can you
Bro.
describe what in I've had the yips in music before a couple times where you're
man.
like the situation has so much pressure
Yeah.
and your body just betrays you.
Yep.
For me, it would be like, oh, you don't know the words to this song that you sang literally a billion times.
Yeah.
It's one of your
Yeah.
hits and you don't know it for TV in this
Yeah.
moment. So the yips in sports.
Well, it's almost like when you're brain gets hijacked. And people talk about a lot in golf, like the high pressure situations or high visibility situations. And for me, I had done long snapping, which is a position in football for punts and field goals.
Yeah.
Like it's the same movement. I'd been doing it since elementary school. For 15 years I had done it. I show up in the NFL after having approximately one bad snap in my entire 15 years. I show up in the NFL, like the most high visible, high pressure situation, and I got the yips, dude. Like I was ruminating. I just mentally collapsed. I couldn't. It was all this pressure that I couldn't escape from, and then your mind does weird things, and all of a sudden, then I was making adjustments and tweaking things. It was like Shawn was so patient. That was a struggle. It was a struggle, and it took me.
Because what you were like, do it.
Yeah,
is that what you were?
I could just see him unraveling.
Just do it. Dude.
It wasn't even just do it. He was just making. This is irrelevant, but I remember watching. I was done with my career. I was retired. I had gone through the yips so many times. I saw it.
Yeah.
I had never seen him. I had never seen him go through the yips. And he calls me one day from like mini camp, first NFL experience, saying he's snapping bad, all these things. And then he mentions this just like offhand comment of like, well, my hands are so sweaty in the gloves. And I was like, what gloves? What gloves? And he's like, my football gloves. And I was like, babe, you've never worn gloves in your life. Why are you wearing gloves? Which is like, it's a very big thing to change.
It's like a quarterback, like you have a certain tactile, like you can feel the touch of the ball. And if a quarterback who's never worn gloves before starts wearing gloves 100%. When they're throwing, like and that's so what I did.
You got the yips, and then he went and thought the gloves would fix it. And I was like, now we've changed everything.
Changed too many things.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So how'd you get out?
It took a while of one, it was like, maybe my career's over. Like maybe I just destroyed it all and that was it. But I kept getting tryouts. So I kept saying yes to that. I kept walking down that path. I kept getting positive enough feedback from the coaches that were signing me and giving me tryouts where I was like, hey, you can do this. Like we've seen you snap.
We know
and you're good enough. Yeah. So I wasn't mindlessly or, hoping that I could pursue this dream. It was like, no, I'm getting reinforcements. And then it took ultimately 5 years to get to a point where I was again confident in myself to go out there on a Sunday and snap in the NFL. And it was just crazy to battle that and go out on the field in practice during that time where I was struggling. And you're like, collapsing.
It's
torture.
a mental collapse.
It was torture, dude.
It's the worst thing in the world. What I've found my way out is joy, which is the weirdest thing that you would think, because what your brain is saying is like, this is very intense.
Yeah,
this
100%.
is, you don't have no control, and you would think that like the way out would be some sort of intense answer, running it a billion times, figuring it out. And what I've found is like looking for someone in the crowd who's having a great time. And I'm like, totally. And my body just like comes back and I understand. I know.
I love that.
Especially it used to be worse for like live TV because you get one chance.
Yeah.
Or like singing the national anthem. I've sang it at like 2 World Series. I sang it at the NBA final. Like that, when that starts to come up, the yips thing. I had one time, I hope I haven't already told this on this podcast, but I sang the national anthem at a Laker game. And all I remember, like I walked out there and I go like, oh, say, that's what I remember. And then I'm like, home of the brave. And I went and sat down next to my wife and I was like waiting for her to tell. I don't even really know what happened. So the yips, first of all, what a great, I did.
Did you just black out?
I just blacked out.
Oh yeah, okay.
But it all was right.
Good.
But these mental things under high pressure situations are super real.
Yeah.
It's like a very real thing.
Oh yeah.
I ended up having to distract my way out of it, and just know that I had done this one thing thousands of times, and I needed to distract my mind from being a hurdle to that, and just like, okay, let me find a person that I can play with or something, and just like go out there and let my body do its thing, as opposed to tightening up and trying to white knuckle it. It's like, what a process.
What an unbelievable process. I love you both. Great to hang out with you. If you're everyone who's listening, this is a really worthwhile read in this moment in history.
Thank you.
Committing
The Courage to Commit.
Yes.
Everybody go get it. Everybody read it. It's really well done, and it's like they both have stories, and then at the end, which for my like Striver brain I really liked, was like little notes, like bullet points, so I can be like, okay, cool, got that. Yeah. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Amazing.
Great to see you.
Honored to be here. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for listening. My way of showing up each episode is by writing a bespoke song for someone in this community. You have all been sending me incredible voicemails, and I have been weeping ever since this started. So here's this week's song.
Hey, Andy, this is actually really, really tough to be this vulnerable. And I want to tell you about my daughter. She's literally grown up since the age of 2, listening to nothing but your music, using the words, understanding that they're not just lyrics, they're mantras to use in life. She's struggling with the relationship with her mother. Her mom's been absent for the last 9 years, bouncing in and out of jail and rehabs. She was recently released on early parole, and her mom told Maddie that she doesn't want to be a part of her life, that she doesn't care. She has too many other things. Waited 9 years to get her mom back in her life, only to be told this. She's always been a redheaded ball of sunshine, but recently she's been holding a ton of anger and emotions inside. I think she desperately needs something to boost her spirits and to give her the reassurance that she has a lot of people in her life that love her. I know a simple song can change this girl's life and at least bring a huge smile to her face. Girl dads rock. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye.
All right, Maddie, you've been on my heart all week. Hearing your story, I was trying to think of like what's the mantra that you could sing if you've just been through that. So I tried my best. I love you. Stay strong, my dear. We all have a hole somewhere deep in our chest. Can spend our whole lives trying to fill it. We have every right to give up and quit. And maybe some nights that's for the best. I don't want my life to be identified by the things that I've missed. This story of mine is a sweet storyline of how I learned to give all of the love that I didn't get. I became the person that I wish I'd met. I'll give the love I didn't get. I'll give the love I didn't get.
Thank you so much for showing up for us. If you want to be a part of the community we're building here and you want to support the show, please go follow me, Andy Grammer, on YouTube and Showing Up with Andy on socials. I've invited all of you to leave a voicemail nominating someone who's shown up for you, shown up for their community, or just needs a little pick-me-up, and I will select a voicemail and write a song for every single episode. To leave a voicemail, call 917-540-0849. Thank you so much. I love you all so much. Keep showing up.